Rome, often referred to as the Eternal City, is a testament to the greatness of human achievement and the complexity of history. A rich tapestry of events, cultures, and innovations going back more than 2.5 millennia has shaped not only Italy, but the world. From its legendary founding by Romulus and Remus to its rise as the heart of the Roman Empire, the city was the cradle of civilization, influencing government, architecture, art, and philosophy. Delving deeper into the fascinating narrative of Rome, we explore its remarkable journey through time, highlighting the key moments that have shaped its character. The Colosseum, the Vatican, and the Roman Forum are more than just landmarks. They are symbols of a heritage that continues to inspire awe and admiration. In this video, you will learn the stories of emperors and gladiators, the birth of democracy, and the flowering of art during the Renaissance. Exploring the interplay of power, culture, and religion, we will learn how Rome has left an indelible mark on the fabric of modern society. Join us in this enlightening exploration of Rome's historical significance, revealing the layers of its past that contribute to its status as a cultural epicenter. Whether you are a history buff or a curious traveler, Stories of Rome promises to capture your imagination and deepen your understanding of this extraordinary city. Rome's legendary origins are shrouded in myth and intrigue, and the story of Romulus and Remus is one of the most fascinating in Roman history. According to ancient legends, these twin brothers were born to Rhea Silvia, a Vestal, and Mars, the god of war. Their birth was shrouded in controversy because Rhea Silvia was forced to become a Vestal by her uncle, King Amulius, who feared that her offspring would threaten his rule. To eliminate the potential threat, Amulius ordered the twins to be thrown into the Tiber River. However, fate intervened and the river current carried them to safety, where they were discovered by a she-wolf. This iconic figure in Roman mythology became a symbol of nurture and strength, as the she-wolf cared for abandoned babies, providing them with sustenance and protection. The image of the she-wolf nursing Romulus and Remus became an emblem of Rome itself, symbolizing the city's resilience and the fierce spirit of its inhabitants. As the twins grew older, they learned of their royal descent and the injustice done to their mother. Driven by a thirst for revenge, they gathered support and overthrew King Amulius, returning their grandfather Numitor to the throne of Alba Longa. This act of heroism marked the beginning of their next great endeavor, the founding of a new city. The brothers decided to establish a settlement near their place of salvation, but there was fierce disagreement over which hill to choose for the new city. Romulus preferred the Palatine Hill, while Remus preferred the Aventine Hill. In a tragic turn of events, the dispute escalated and led to Remus's death at the hands of Romulus. This act of fratricide marked the beginning of Rome. Romulus became its first king and named the city in his honor. The importance of the she-wolf in this myth cannot be overestimated. In addition to her role as nurse, she symbolizes the duality of Roman nature, fierce and protective. The she-wolf represents the strength and resilience that would characterize the Roman people throughout their history. This mythological narrative not only explains the origins of Rome, but also reflects the values and ideals that the Romans held dear, such as bravery, loyalty, and the importance of family. The image of the she-wolf has been immortalized in art and sculpture, most famously in the bronze statue known as the Capitoline she-wolf, which continues to be a powerful symbol of Rome's enduring heritage. In addition to the story of Romulus and Remus, the historical context of the Trojan hero Aeneas adds another layer to the legendary origins of Rome. According to Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid, Aeneas was a Trojan prince who fled the burning city of Troy after its fall. Driven by fate, he embarked on a perilous journey that eventually led him to Italy, where he became the forefather of the Romans. Aeneas's arrival in Italy and his subsequent union with Lavinia, the daughter of the local king, began a lineage that connected him to Romulus and Remus. This connection between Aeneas and the founders of Rome served to legitimize the city's origins, linking Romans to the heroic stories of the Trojan War and emphasizing their divine purpose. The intertwining of these myths, the story of Romulus and Remus and the legacy of Aeneas, emphasizes the Romans' desire to trace their roots to heroic figures and divine origins. This connection not only strengthened their identity, but also provided a sense of purpose and pride in their civilization. The Romans saw themselves as heirs to a great heritage, destined to achieve greatness and spread their influence throughout the known world. As we study the legendary origins of Rome, it becomes clear that the myths of Romulus and Remus and the heroic journey of Aeneas are not just stories, they are foundational narratives that shaped the worldview of the Romans. These tales reflect the values, aspirations, and struggles of a people who later created one of the most powerful empires in history. The significance of these legends transcends their historical context, as they continue to resonate with themes of resilience, ambition, and the search for identity that are still relevant today. In conclusion, the legendary origins of Rome, centered around the figures of Romulus and Remus and the heroic Aeneas, present a rich narrative that captures the imagination and highlights the cultural heritage of this remarkable city. The myth of the she-wolf serves as a powerful symbol of Rome's strength and nurturing spirit, while the connection to Aeneas reinforces the idea of divine destiny. Together, these stories form the core of Roman identity, illustrating the enduring legacy of a civilization that has left an indelible mark on the world. As we continue to explore Roman history, we will uncover the layers of meaning embedded in these myths and their profound impact on the development of Roman culture and society. Rome's early history is marked by the reign of 7 early kings, each of whom made unique contributions to the development of the city and its institutions. This period, spanning from the legendary founding of Rome in 753 BC to the establishment of the Roman Republic in 509 BC, laid the foundation for what became one of the most influential civilizations in history. Roman kings were more than just rulers. They were key figures shaping the social, political, and cultural landscape of the growing city. Romulus, the first king of Rome, is perhaps the most iconic figure in Roman mythology. According to legend, he founded the city after a series of dramatic events, including the fratricide of his brother Remus. Romulus is credited with creating many fundamental aspects of Roman society. He divided the population into tribes and created the first Roman army, emphasizing the importance of military might in defending the city. Romulus also began the practice of capturing women from neighboring tribes during the infamous rape of the Sabine women, which was crucial to ensuring the growth of the Roman population. In addition, he established the Senate, a council of elders that played an important role in the governance of Rome. The early Senate consisted of 100 members, known as patres, who gave advice to the king and represented the interests of the aristocracy. Romulus's rule set the tone for future Rome, creating a model of leadership that combined military prowess with political acumen. Following Romulus, Numa Pompilius ascended the throne and became the second king of Rome. Unlike his predecessor, Numa was known for his peaceful and religious character. He is credited with establishing many of Rome's religious practices and rituals, which laid the foundation for the spiritual life of the city. Numa created the Roman calendar by introducing the months of January and February, and is often associated with the creation of various priestly offices, including Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of Rome. His rule emphasized the importance of piety and the favor of the gods, which were considered essential to the prosperity of the city. Numa's contribution to the religious and cultural fabric of Rome fostered a sense of unity and identity among its citizens. The third king, Ancus Marcius, was a descendant of Numa and is often remembered for his military and infrastructural achievements. Ancus expanded the territory of Rome by waging wars with neighboring tribes, particularly the Latins and Sabines. He is credited with establishing the port of Ostia, which promoted trade and commerce, thereby strengthening Rome's economic power. Ancus also focused on building infrastructure in the city, including the construction of the first prison, the Mamertine jail, and the expansion of the city walls. His reign marked an important transitional period when Rome began to establish itself as a regional power, laying the groundwork for future expansion. The fourth king, Tarquinius the Elder, also known as Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, was of Etruscan origin and is often credited with introducing various cultural and architectural achievements to Rome. His reign saw the construction of the Circus Maximus, a huge chariot racing stadium that became the central venue for public entertainment. Tarquin also initiated the construction of the Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill, which became one of the most important religious sites in Rome. In addition, he expanded the Senate and introduced reforms to improve the administration of justice. Tarquin's reign was characterized by a combination of Etruscan influence and Roman traditions, which contributed to the growing sophistication of the city. After Tarquin the Elder, his son Tarquin the Proud ascended the throne and became the fifth king of Rome. Unlike his father, Tarquin the Proud was known for his tyrannical rule and disregard for the authority of the Senate. His reign was marked by significant building projects, including the completion of the Temple of Jupiter and the expansion of the city's infrastructure. However, his despotic rule led to widespread discontent among the Roman population. The turning point was the tragic story of Lucretia, a noblewoman who was raped by Tarquin's son Sextus. Her subsequent suicide sparked outrage and rebellion among the citizens of Rome, eventually leading to the overthrow of Tarquin the Proud and the end of the monarchy. This turning point in Rome's history marked the transition from monarchy to republic, as citizens sought to establish a government that would represent their interests and prevent the rise of tyranny. The sixth king, Servius Tullius, is often credited with significant social and political reforms that laid the foundation for the Roman Republic. He is known for reorganizing the Roman population into classes based on wealth, creating a more structured social hierarchy. This division led to the creation of the Centuriate Assembly, which allowed citizens to vote on important issues, thus increasing their political participation. Servius also expanded the boundaries of the city and initiated the construction of the Servian Wall, which provided protection from external threats. His rule emphasized the importance of civic duty and participation in government, laying the foundation for the development of republican ideals. Finally, the overthrow of the seventh king, Tarquin the Proud, marked the end of the monarchy and the establishment of the Roman Republic in 509 BC. The transition from monarchy to republic was an important turning point in the history of Rome because it represented a shift from autocratic rule to a system of government that emphasized citizen participation. The new republican government was characterized by a complex system of checks and balances, and power was divided among elected officials, including consuls and senators. This transition was more than just a change in leadership. It was a fundamental redefinition of Rome's political landscape, laying the groundwork for the development of democratic principles that would influence future civilizations. Overall, the reigns of Rome's first 7 kings played an important role in shaping the identity of the city and its governance. From the military foundations of Romulus to the religious reforms of Numa, the territorial expansion of Ancus, the cultural progress of Tarquin the Elder, the tyranny of Tarquin the Proud, the social reforms of Servius Tullius, and the final transition to the Republic, each king left an indelible mark on Rome's history. The establishment of the Senate and social structures during this period laid a foundation for governance that changed over time and eventually led to one of the most powerful republics in history. The legacy of these early kings continues to resound in the political and cultural fabric of Rome, reminding us of the city's storied past and its enduring influence on the world. The transition from monarchy to Roman Republic in 509 BC marks a turning point in the history of Rome, representing a fundamental shift in the governance and political landscape of the city. This transformation was not simply a change in leadership, but a response to the growing discontent of the Roman population with the tyranny of the last king, Tarquin the Proud. The events leading up to the establishment of the Republic were characterized by a series of social, political, and personal conflicts that eventually culminated in a revolution against monarchical rule. The backdrop for this transition was the despotic rule of Tarquin the Proud, whose rule was characterized by arrogance, cruelty, and blatant disregard for the rights of Roman citizens. His tyrannical behavior alienated many, especially the aristocracy and patricians, who felt their influence and power was being undermined. The turning point was the tragic incident of Lucretia, a noblewoman who was raped by Tarquin's son, Sextus Tarquinius. Lucretia's subsequent suicide after she reported the attack to her husband, Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus, and her father, sparked outrage among the Roman elite. This act of desperation became a cry for those who opposed Tarquin's rule and ignited a movement that sought to rid Rome of the monarchy. After Lucretia's death, Lucius Junius Brutus became a key figure in the revolution against Tarquin the Proud. Brutus, Tarquin's cousin, was deeply affected by the tragedy and recognized the need for change. He opposed the king, calling for the expulsion of Tarquin's family and the establishment of a new form of government that would prevent the growth of tyranny. Brutus's leadership was instrumental in mobilizing support among the Roman population, especially among the patricians who sought to regain power and influence. He famously proclaimed that, "The people of Rome shall be free," emphasizing the need for a government that represented the interests of the citizens rather than a single ruler. The revolution was gaining momentum when Brutus and his supporters rallied the citizens of Rome. They organized a revolt that culminated in a siege of the royal palace. The Tarquin family, realizing that their power was waning, fled Rome, marking the end of the monarchy. After their expulsion, Brutus and Collatinus were appointed first consuls of Rome, symbolizing the new republican government. This dual leadership structure was designed to prevent the concentration of power in the hands of one person, reflecting a desire for a more balanced and representative form of government. The establishment of the Roman Republic was significant for several reasons. First of all, it marked a departure from autocratic rule and the emergence of a system that emphasized citizen participation in government. The Republic created a complex political structure that included various elected officials, such as consuls, senators, and tribunes, each with specific roles and responsibilities. This system of checks and balances was designed to prevent the growth of tyranny and to ensure the distribution of power among the various branches of government. The Senate, which had existed under the monarchy, gained great power in the Republic. Composed mainly of patricians, the Senate became the central governing body responsible for advising the consuls and making decisions on matters of state. Although the consuls had executive power, the influence of the Senate was decisive in shaping legislation and foreign policy. This shift in power dynamics allowed for a more deliberative approach to governance, where decisions were made collectively rather than unilaterally. Another important aspect of the Republic was the introduction of the position of tribune of the plebeians. This position was created to represent the interests of the common people, or plebeians, who had previously been sidelined in the political process. Tribunes had the power to veto laws and protect the rights of the plebeians, ensuring that their voices would be heard in the new government. This development was a crucial step towards social equality and bringing different points of view into the political arena. The Republic also fostered a sense of civic duty and participation in society. The idea of service to the state became one of the central tenets of Roman identity, and citizens were expected to participate in public life and contribute to the well-being of society. This emphasis on civic responsibility was reflected in the army, where service in it was considered both an honor and a duty. The Republic's reliance on citizen soldiers contributed to its military successes and the expansion of Roman territory. However, the transition to the Republic was not without its difficulties. The early years of the Republic were marked by internal strife and power struggles between patricians and plebeians. The plebeians sought greater political representation and protection of their rights, which led to a series of conflicts known as the Conflict of Orders. This struggle eventually led to significant reforms, including the creation of the 12 Tables, which codified Roman law and provided a legal framework for all citizens. The importance of the Republic in shaping Roman rule cannot be overemphasized. It laid the foundation for a political system that would endure for centuries and influence future civilizations. The principles of representation, checks and balances, and civic participation established during this period have become the cornerstones of modern democratic governance. The legacy of the Roman Republic can also be traced in modern political thought, as many democratic systems around the world draw inspiration from its structure and ideals. In conclusion, the transition from monarchy to the Roman Republic in 509 BC was a turning point in Rome's history, driven by the desire for freedom from tyranny and the establishment of a more representative form of government. Key figures such as Lucius Junius Brutus played a crucial role in this revolution, advocating for the rights of citizens and the expulsion of the Tarquin monarchy. The Republic introduced a complex political structure that emphasized citizen participation, the importance of the Senate, and the protection of plebeian rights. This period laid the foundation for the development of Roman identity and governance, leaving behind an enduring legacy that still resonates in modern political systems. The Republic's emphasis on civic duty, representation, and the rule of law shaped not only the future of Rome, but also the course of Western civilization. The Punic Wars, a series of 3 conflicts between Rome and Carthage between 264 and 146 BCE, had a profound impact on the trajectory of Roman expansion and military prowess. These wars not only determined the fate of 2 powerful civilizations, but also reshaped the Mediterranean world, establishing Rome as the dominant power. The key battles, the strategies employed by prominent generals such as Hannibal and Scipio Africanus, and the effects of these wars on Rome and Carthage illustrate the transformative nature of this period of history. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, began over a dispute over control of Sicily, a strategically important island in the Mediterranean. Rome, seeking to expand its influence, engaged in a protracted maritime conflict with Carthage, which had established a powerful maritime empire. The Romans, initially inexperienced in naval warfare, quickly adapted their strategies, developing the corvus, a boarding device that allowed them to engage in hand-to-hand combat with Carthaginian ships. This innovation turned the tide of the war in Rome's favor, leading to significant victories in battles such as the Battle of Mila, 260 BC, and the Battle of Ecnomus, 256 BC. The war ended with the Treaty of Lutetia in 241 BC, under which Carthage was forced to cede Sicily to Rome and pay substantial compensation. This victory marked the beginning of Rome's expansion beyond the Italian peninsula and consolidated its naval potential. The Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, is perhaps the most famous of the 3 conflicts, primarily due to the amazing military strategy employed by the Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca. Hannibal's audacious decision to lead his army, including war elephants across the Alps to invade Italy, is legendary. His tactical genius was demonstrated in several key battles, most notably the Battle of Trebia, 218 BC, the Battle of Lake Trasimene, 217 BC, and the Battle of Cannae, 216 BC. At Cannae, Hannibal won one of the most significant victories in military history by encircling and destroying a much larger Roman force with a brilliant double encirclement maneuver. This battle demonstrated Hannibal's exceptional leadership and strategic abilities, instilling fear in the Roman population and leading to a crisis in Roman military morale. In response to Hannibal's successes, Rome turned to its own military commanders, most notably Scipio of Africa. Scipio's strategic brilliance and adaptability were crucial in countering Hannibal's tactics. Having won a victory in Spain, Scipio launched an invasion of North Africa, forcing Hannibal to return to defend Carthage. The decisive confrontation occurred at the Battle of Zama in 202 BC, where Scipio, using a combination of cavalry maneuvers and infantry tactics, defeated Hannibal. This victory not only ended the Second Punic War, but also cemented Rome's status as the preeminent power in the Mediterranean. The Treaty of Zama imposed harsh conditions on Carthage, depriving it of its overseas territories and turning it into a client state of Rome. The consequences of the Punic Wars were far-reaching for both Rome and Carthage. For Rome, the wars led to significant territorial expansion as it gained control of Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, and parts of Spain. This expansion facilitated an influx of wealth and resources that fueled Rome's growth and military capabilities. The wars also led to the creation of a more professional and organized military structure, as Rome adapted its strategies and tactics to meet the challenges posed by formidable opponents such as Hannibal. Roman legions became more disciplined and versatile, using lessons learned from clashes with Carthaginian forces. In contrast, the Punic Wars had devastating consequences for Carthage. The defeat in the Second Punic War marked the decline of Carthaginian power and influence in the Mediterranean. The harsh terms imposed by Rome in the Treaty of Zama dealt Carthage an economic and military blow. Although Carthage eventually recovered to some extent, it was never able to regain its former status as a dominant power. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BC, eventually led to the complete destruction of Carthage, as Roman forces besieged the city and razed it to the ground. This final conflict cemented Rome's control over the Western Mediterranean and eliminated any remaining threat from Carthage. The legacy of military tactics developed during the Punic Wars had a lasting impact on Roman military doctrine and strategy. These conflicts forced Rome to refine its military organization, resulting in a more flexible and adaptive army. The Roman legions, which had previously relied on a more rigid formation, began to employ tactics that emphasized mobility and maneuverability. The lessons learned from Hannibal's tactics, particularly the importance of flank maneuvers and the use of cavalry, influenced Roman commanders for many generations to come. In addition, the Punic Wars contributed to the development of siege warfare techniques as Roman engineers and military commanders adapted their strategies to effectively besiege fortified cities. The creation of siege machines, such as the ballista and onager, allowed Roman forces to breach enemy defenses with greater efficiency. These technological advances further strengthened Rome's military capabilities and facilitated its expansion into new territories. The impact of the Punic Wars went beyond military tactics. They also affected Roman society and politics. The influx of wealth from conquered territories led to significant social changes, as the growing inequality between the wealthy elite and the lower classes became more pronounced. The expansion of Rome's territory and influence also fostered the emergence of ambitious military leaders who sought to use their military successes for political gain. This shift in power dynamics ultimately contributed to the political instability that characterized the late Republic. In conclusion, the Punic Wars were a defining period in Rome's history, defining its expansion and military prowess. Key battles and strategies employed by generals such as Hannibal and Scipio Africanus demonstrated the evolution of military tactics and the adaptability of Roman forces. The effects of the wars on Rome and Carthage were profound, leading to Rome's emergence as the dominant power in the Mediterranean and the weakening of Carthaginian influence. The legacy of military tactics developed during this period not only influenced Roman military doctrine, but also had lasting effects on Rome's political and social landscape. Ultimately, the Punic Wars marked the beginning of Rome's transformation into an empire, laying a foundation that would last for centuries and shape the course of Western civilization. The rise of the Roman Empire was a complex process influenced by many factors, including political, social, and military dynamics. Central to this transformation was Julius Caesar, whose actions and ambitions significantly affected the Roman Republic. His rise to power began a series of events that culminated in civil wars and eventually led to the creation of the Roman Empire under Augustus, the first emperor. This transition marked a profound change in government and society, reshaping the Roman world and laying the foundation for an imperial system that would last for centuries to come. Julius Caesar became a key figure in the late Roman Republic era, which was characterized by political instability, social unrest, and power struggles among the elite. Caesar was born into a patrician family in 100 BC, and his early career was marked by a number of military and political successes. The conquest of Gaul in 58 to 50 BC not only expanded Rome's territory, but also enhanced his reputation as a military leader. The Gallic Wars demonstrated his strategic brilliance and ability to inspire loyalty among his troops, earning him immense popularity among the Roman population. However, this popularity also created jealousy and fear among the Senate, especially among his political rivals, such as Pompey and Crassus, who had previously formed the first triumvirate with Caesar. The political situation in the Republic was tense, and Caesar's growing power threatened the traditional authority of the Senate. In 49 BC, after a series of escalating conflicts with Pompey, who had allied himself with the Senate against Caesar, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon River, famously declaring that the deed was done. This act of defiance started a civil war between Caesar's troops and Pompey's loyalists. The conflict culminated in Pompey's defeat and subsequent assassination in Egypt, which strengthened Caesar's control over Rome. In 44 BC, Caesar was appointed perpetual dictator, or dictator for life, a title that alarmed many senators who feared he was seeking to establish a monarchy. His reforms, including the reorganization of the calendar and the expansion of the Senate, were met with mixed reviews because they challenged the established norms of the Republic. Caesar's assassination in the Ides of March in 44 BC was a turning point in the history of Rome. The conspirators, led by Brutus and Cassius, thought they were saving the Republic from tyranny. However, instead of restoring traditional republican rule, Caesar's death plunged Rome into more chaos and civil unrest. The power vacuum left by his assassination led to a struggle for control between his supporters, including Mark Antony and Octavian, later known as Augustus, and those who opposed him. This period of civil wars, known as the Civil War of the Liberators, saw shifting alliances and violent conflicts as different factions vied for supremacy. Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, became a key player during this tumultuous period. Originally allies of Mark Antony, they formed the Second Triumvirate with Lepidus to defeat the conspirators responsible for Caesar's assassination. Their victory at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC was an important turning point as they eliminated major threats to their power. However, tensions soon arose between Octavian and Antony, especially when Antony's relationship with Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, became the center of political rivalry. Octavian skillfully used propaganda to portray Antony as a traitor to Rome, which eventually led to a confrontation at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. Octavian's naval victory decisively ended Antony's ambitions and cemented his position as the sole ruler of Rome. The rise of Augustus marked the end of the Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. In 27 BC, Octavian was granted the title Augustus, meaning honored, and became the first emperor of Rome. This transition from republic to empire was characterized by significant changes in government and society. Augustus introduced a series of reforms that centralized power while maintaining a facade of republican institutions. He cleverly positioned himself as the restorer of the Republic, emphasizing his role as defender of traditional Roman values. In reality, however, he wielded absolute power, controlling the armed forces, finances, and key political appointments. One of the most notable changes during Augustus's reign was the reorganization of the Roman government. He created a new administrative structure that provided greater efficiency and control. The Senate retained its role, but Augustus effectively reduced its power by surrounding himself with loyal supporters and appointing senators who conformed to his views. The creation of an imperial bureaucracy facilitated the administration of vast territories under Roman control, ensuring that local governors were accountable to the emperor. This shift in governance marked a shift away from the Republic's more decentralized power structure as Augustus concentrated power in the hands of the emperor. Socially, the transition to empire brought about significant changes in Roman society. Augustus sought to promote traditional Roman values, emphasizing the family, morality, and civic duty. He introduced laws to encourage marriage and childbearing among the upper classes, reflecting his desire to strengthen the Roman population and restore the moral fiber of society. The establishment of the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and stability, fostered economic growth and cultural flourishing. Trade routes expanded, and the arts flourished. resulting in a vibrant cultural landscape that celebrated Roman achievements. The legacy of Augustus's reign extended beyond his lifetime as he became a model for future emperors. His careful balancing of power, propaganda, and public image set a precedent for the imperial system that followed. The title princeps, or first citizen, became synonymous with the role of emperor, emphasizing the idea of leadership without overtly challenging republican ideals. This approach allowed Augustus to maintain popular support while consolidating power, a strategy that would be followed by subsequent emperors. The rise of the Roman Empire was also marked by significant military developments. Augustus realized the importance of a loyal and professional army to maintain control over the vast territories acquired through conquest. He reformed the armed forces, creating a standing army of professional soldiers who served for long periods of time, ensuring loyalty to the emperor rather than to individual generals. This shift reduced the influence of military leaders on politics and helped stabilize the empire. The creation of the Praetorian Guard, an elite unit tasked with protecting the emperor, further consolidated Augustus's power and ensured his personal safety. In conclusion, the establishment of the Roman Empire was a multifaceted process, influenced by the actions of key figures such as Julius Caesar and Augustus, as well as the civil wars that followed Caesar's assassination. The transition from the Roman Republic to the Empire marked a significant change in government and society, characterized by the centralization of power, the restructuring of political institutions, and the establishment of traditional Roman values. Augustus's reign laid down a model of imperial rule that shaped Rome's future and left an indelible legacy on the path of Western civilization. The factors that led to the rise of the Roman Empire illustrate the complexity of political power, military strategy, and social change that ultimately led to the creation of one of the most influential empires in history. The social structure of ancient Rome was complex and hierarchical, characterized by distinct classes that played specific roles in the structure of Roman society. The main division was between patricians, plebeians, and slaves, and each group contributed to the overall dynamics of Roman life. Understanding these differences provides insight into the daily lives of Romans, their occupations, living conditions, and the cultural practices that shaped their experiences. At the top of the social hierarchy were the patricians, an aristocratic class that traced its lineage back to the founding of Rome. Patricians were usually wealthy landowners with considerable political power and influence. They held key positions in the Senate and other government offices, controlling much of the Republic's political landscape. Their wealth allowed them a lavish lifestyle, luxury villas, elaborate banquets, and access to education. Patricians were often educated in rhetoric, philosophy, and the arts, which prepared them for leadership roles in society. In contrast, the plebeians made up the majority of the Roman population and included farmers, laborers, artisans, and merchants. Although some plebeians were relatively wealthy, many lived in modest conditions and struggled to make ends meet. At first, the plebeians had limited political power, but over time they fought for and achieved their rights, including the establishment of the office of tribune of the plebeians, which allowed them to have a voice in the government. The conflict of the orders, a series of social clashes between patricians and plebeians, eventually led to significant reforms that improved the position of the plebeians and allowed them to participate more fully in the political life of Rome. At the bottom of the social hierarchy were slaves, who were considered property and had no legal rights. Slavery in Rome was not based on race. Rather, it was the result of conquest, duty, or birth. Slaves performed a wide range of jobs, from domestic duties to agricultural labor and skilled trades. Some slaves were educated and could work as teachers or doctors, while others worked in harsh conditions on farms or in mines. The treatment of slaves varied greatly. Some were treated relatively well and could earn their freedom, while others faced harsh conditions and exploitation. The institution of slavery was an integral part of the Roman economy, providing the labor force needed for agricultural production and urban development. Religion played a central role in the daily lives of Romans, influencing their values, customs, and social interactions. The Romans were polytheists and worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses who were believed to influence all aspects of life, from agriculture to warfare. Key deities included Jupiter, king of the gods, Juno, his wife, and Mars, god of war. Religious rituals and ceremonies were performed to gain the favor of the gods and ensure the prosperity of the state. Public festivals were an important aspect of Roman religious life, providing opportunities for communal celebration and strengthening social bonds. Major festivals such as Ludi Romani and Saturnalia included games, theatrical performances, and religious ceremonies. These events were not only religious rituals, but also occasions for socializing and displaying wealth. During the Saturnalia, for example, social norms were temporarily abolished, allowing slaves to participate in the festivities with their masters, which emphasizes the fluidity of social roles during these festivals. The role of religion went beyond public festivities. It was also deeply rooted in the political sphere. Before making important decisions, the Senate often consulted with augurs, priests who interpreted the will of the gods through signs and omens. The intertwining of religion and politics strengthened the authority of the ruling class and legitimized its power. The living conditions of the Romans varied considerably according to social class. The patricians lived in large, luxurious houses known as domus, with atriums, courtyards, and elaborate decorations. These houses were often located in the center of the city, providing easy access to political and social activities. Patrician families lived lavish lifestyles with access to fine dining, entertainment, and education for their children. They often hired numerous slaves to run the household and help with daily chores. In contrast, plebeians typically lived in insulae, multi-story apartment buildings that were often cramped and poorly built. These houses could house several families, and living conditions were often unsanitary and unsafe. The lower floors were usually occupied by wealthy plebeians, while poorer families lived on the upper levels, which were more prone to fire and structural collapse. Despite these difficulties, plebeians found ways to create a sense of community and family life, often gathering in public places and participating in local festivals. The occupations of the plebeians varied widely, reflecting the diversity of Roman society. Many plebeians practiced agriculture, growing crops such as wheat, olives, and grapes. Others were artisans, making goods such as pottery, textiles, and metalwork. Trade was also an important aspect of plebeian life. Many engaged in commerce in local markets or as merchants traveling between towns. The emergence of the plebeian estate and its contribution to the economy played a crucial role in the growth of Rome as a trading center. Slaves, as already mentioned, occupied a variety of roles in Roman society. Some worked for families, performing domestic chores such as cooking, cleaning, and childcare. Others worked in agriculture, tending fields and livestock, and skilled slaves could work as craftsmen, builders, or even educators. Slave labor was important to the functioning of the Roman economy, and their contributions were often taken for granted by Rome's free citizens. Although the social structure of Rome was hierarchical, there were opportunities for social mobility, especially for plebeians and freedmen. Successful plebeians could accumulate wealth and influence, which allowed them to gain political power and even marry into patrician families. The creation of the tribunate and the inclusion of plebeians in the Senate opened up opportunities for political advancement, leading to a gradual blurring of the rigid class distinctions that characterized early Roman society. Freedmen, former slaves who had gained their freedom, also played an important role in the social structure of Rome. Many freedmen became successful entrepreneurs, using their skills and connections to establish businesses and accumulate wealth. Although they could not hold political office, they often had some social mobility and could integrate into the plebeian class. The presence of freedmen in Roman society emphasized the fluidity of social roles and the potential for people to rise above their original circumstances. The cultural life of Rome was vibrant and diverse, reflecting the influence of various conquered peoples. The Romans were known for their appreciation of art, literature, and philosophy. Public entertainment such as gladiatorial games, chariot races, and theatrical performances played an important role in Roman society. The Colosseum and Circus Maximus were iconic places where citizens gathered to watch these spectacles, strengthening social cohesion and providing a sense of shared identity. Gladiatorial games, in particular, were a popular form of entertainment that attracted large crowds of spectators. These contests, often held in honor of deceased people or as part of religious festivals, demonstrated the bravery and skill of the gladiators, who were usually slaves or prisoners of war. Despite the brutality of the games, they served as a means of social control, distracting the population from political problems and strengthening the power of the elite. Under the Roman Empire, the arts flourished. Prominent figures such as Virgil, Ovid, and Horace contributed to literature and poetry. Roman architecture and engineering also reached new heights. Monumental structures such as aqueducts, temples, and public baths were built. These achievements reflected the values of Roman society, emphasizing order, functionality, and grandeur. The social structure and daily life of the Romans was shaped by a complex interplay of class distinctions, religious practices, and cultural influences. The division into patricians, plebeians, and slaves created a hierarchical society that influenced all aspects of life, from government to daily activities. Religion and public festivals played a central role in shaping community and strengthening social ties, and the living conditions and occupations of different social classes reflected the diversity of Roman society. Despite rigid social hierarchies, there were opportunities for social mobility that allowed people to rise above their circumstances and contribute to Roman life. Roman cultural achievements, from literature to monumental architecture, demonstrated their values and aspirations, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to influence the world today. Understanding the intricacies of Roman social structure and daily life provides valuable insight into the complexities of one of the most influential civilizations in history. The architectural achievements of ancient Rome testify to the ingenuity, ambition, and cultural values of one of the most influential civilizations in history. From monumental structures that demonstrated the power of the empire, to innovative engineering advances that facilitated the expansion of cities, Roman architecture reflects a combination of functionality, aesthetics, and social relevance. Among the most iconic structures are the Colosseum and the extensive network of aqueducts, which exemplify the engineering prowess of the Romans and their commitment to social life and entertainment. The Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheater, is perhaps the most recognizable symbol of ancient Rome. Commissioned by Emperor Vespasian in 70 to 72 AD and completed by his son Titus in 80 AD, the Colosseum was designed to host a variety of public spectacles, including gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, and mock sea battles. This monumental structure held between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators, making it one of the largest amphitheaters of its time. The architectural design of the Colosseum is an outstanding achievement in itself. It is a complex system of vaults and arches that not only ensured the stability of the structure, but also allowed for the efficient movement of large crowds of people. The use of concrete, a Roman innovation, made it possible to erect a massive structure while reducing the overall weight. The elliptical shape of the Colosseum and the tiered seating arrangement provided all spectators with a good view of the events taking place in the arena. The Colosseum was not just an architectural marvel, it had great cultural significance for the Roman population. It served as a place for public entertainment, reinforcing the social hierarchy of Roman society. The seating arrangements reflected class distinctions. The elite occupied the best seats closest to the action, while the lower classes were relegated to the upper tiers. The games held in the Colosseum were not only a form of entertainment, but also a means of demonstrating the power and generosity of emperors, who often sponsored lavish spectacles to win the favor of the people. Moreover, the Colosseum became a symbol of Roman identity and pride. It represented the power of the empire and its ability to organize grand events that demonstrated the strength and discipline of Roman society. The enduring legacy of this structure continues to attract visitors from around the world, serving as a reminder of the cultural and architectural achievements of ancient Rome. Another significant architectural achievement of ancient Rome was its extensive network of aqueducts. which played a crucial role in expanding the city and improving public health. The Romans pioneered the construction of aqueducts, using advanced engineering techniques to transport water from distant sources to urban centers. This innovation was necessary to support Rome's growing population, which at its peak reached over 1 million inhabitants. Aqueducts were remarkable feats of engineering, often spanning vast distances and using a variety of materials and techniques. The most famous of these is the Aqua Appia, built in 312 BC, which was the first aqueduct to supply water to the city of Rome. Subsequent aqueducts, such as the Aqua Claudia and Aqua Marcia, were built with increasing sophistication, with arches, bridges, and tunnels to traverse the varied terrain. The use of the arch was particularly significant in the construction of aqueducts. Using this architectural element, the Romans were able to create long spans that could support the weight of water while minimizing the amount of material needed. This innovation not only improved the structural integrity of the aqueducts, but also allowed for the construction of visually impressive structures that became an integral part of the Roman landscape. Aqueducts had a profound impact on Roman society. By providing a reliable supply of fresh water, they improved public health and sanitation, reducing the incidence of waterborne diseases. The availability of water also facilitated the development of public baths, fountains, and latrines, which became an integral part of urban life. These amenities contributed to the overall quality of life in Rome and reflected the empire's commitment to public welfare. In addition, aqueducts symbolized Roman engineering prowess and the empire's ability to conquer nature. The construction of these monumental structures demonstrated the Romans' understanding of hydraulics and their ability to manipulate the environment for the benefit of society. The aqueducts not only served a practical purpose, but also became a source of pride for the Roman people, demonstrating their technological achievements and organizational skills. The architectural achievements of ancient Rome were made possible by a number of engineering innovations that contributed to the expansion of the empire. The Romans skillfully incorporated new technologies and materials into their building practices, allowing them to construct structures that were both functional and aesthetically pleasing. One of the most significant innovations was the use of concrete, which revolutionized Roman architecture. This versatile material made it possible to build large and complex structures, such as the Pantheon and Colosseum. Roman concrete was made from a mixture of lime, volcanic ash, and water, creating a strong substance that could stand the test of time. The use of concrete allowed the Romans to create spacious interiors and intricate structures, pushing the boundaries of architectural possibilities. The development of the arch and vault was another key innovation that changed Roman architecture. The arch allowed for more efficient weight distribution, which made it possible to build larger openings and more spacious interiors. The vault, an extension of the arch, created ceilings capable of traveling great distances, as seen in structures such as the Basilica of Maxentius and the Pantheon. These architectural elements not only enhanced the aesthetic appeal of Roman buildings, but also contributed to their structural integrity. The Romans also excelled at building roads and bridges that facilitated trade, military travel, and communication throughout the vast empire. Famous Roman roads, such as the Via Appia, were designed with precision and composed of layers of materials to ensure durability and ease of travel. The construction of bridges, often using arches, allowed rivers and valleys to be crossed, further strengthening communication within the empire. These engineering innovations played a crucial role in Rome's expansion, allowing the empire to control vast territories and integrate different cultures. The ability to build monumental structures and efficient infrastructure not only demonstrated Rome's power, but also facilitated the administration and management of conquered lands. The architectural achievements of ancient Rome reflected the empire's ambition and its desire to leave a lasting legacy. The architectural achievements of ancient Rome were not merely functional, they had deep cultural significance, reflecting the values and aspirations of Roman society. The grandiosity of structures such as the Colosseum and aqueducts symbolize the power and stability of the Roman Empire, reinforcing the idea of Rome's supremacy in the ancient world. Public buildings and monuments served as expressions of imperial power and civic pride. Temples dedicated to the gods, such as the Temple of Jupiter and the Pantheon, were not only places of worship, but also embodied the religious devotion and cultural identity of the empire. These structures were often decorated with elaborate sculptures and reliefs depicting historical events, mythological scenes, and the achievements of emperors, reinforcing the link between religion, politics, and culture. The emphasis on public spaces such as forums, basilicas, and baths reflected the Romans' commitment to community and civic life. These places served as venues for social interaction, political discussions, and cultural events, fostering a sense of belonging among citizens. The construction of public baths, in particular, emphasized the importance of hygiene and leisure in Roman society by providing a place to relax and socialize. In addition, the architectural achievements of ancient Rome influenced subsequent civilizations and left a lasting legacy in the world. The principles of Roman architecture, particularly the use of arches, vaults, and concrete, were adopted and adapted by subsequent cultures, including Byzantium and the Renaissance. The enduring influence of Roman architecture can be seen in the design of modern buildings, bridges, and infrastructure, demonstrating the timelessness of their innovations. Ancient Rome's significant architectural achievements, exemplified by the Colosseum and its extensive network of aqueducts, reflect the empire's engineering prowess, cultural values, and commitment to public life. These monumental structures not only served practical purposes, but also symbolized the power and identity of Rome, reinforcing social hierarchy and fostering a sense of community among its citizens. The innovations in engineering and construction technologies that emerged during this period contributed to the expansion of the empire and the integration of different cultures. The legacy of Roman architecture continues to resound today, influencing modern design and urban planning. By studying the architectural feats of ancient Rome, we gain insight into the complexities of Roman society and the enduring impact of its achievements on the world. The grandeur of Roman architecture serves as a reminder of the empire's ambition, creativity, and lasting influence on human civilization. The decline of the Western Roman Empire was a complex process influenced by many interrelated factors, including internal strife, economic instability, and barbarian invasions. All of these factors combined to weaken the once mighty empire, eventually leading to its fall in the late 5th century AD. The overthrow of Romulus Augustulus in 476 AD is often referred to as the symbolic end of the Western Roman Empire, marking an important turning point in history. This decline also marked the beginning of the transition to the Byzantine Empire, which would continue the legacy of Roman rule and culture for centuries to come. One of the main factors contributing to the decline of the Western Roman Empire was internal strife characterized by political instability, civil wars, and power struggles between different groups. The empire became increasingly fragmented, with the interests of the aristocracy, warlords, and provincial governors clashing. The assassination of Emperor Commodus in 192 AD marked the beginning of a period known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century, during which the empire saw a rapid succession of emperors, many of whom were installed or removed by military force. This era saw the succession of over 20 emperors in just 50 years, resulting in a lack of continuity in leadership and governance. Political chaos was exacerbated by the growing power of the military, which came to play a decisive role in the choice of emperors. Generals often used their legions to seize power, leading to a series of civil wars and usurpations. Military loyalty often shifted. Soldiers tended to support commanders who promised them wealth and land rather than the central authority of the emperor. Such shifting loyalties undermined the stability of the government and contributed to the fragmentation of the empire. In addition, the division of the empire into Eastern and Western empires in the late 3rd century under Emperor Diocletian was intended to improve governance, but ended up further dividing the empire. The Western Roman Empire, with its capital in Rome and later Ravenna, struggled to maintain control over its territories, while the Eastern Roman Empire, centered in Byzantium, later Constantinople, grew increasingly prosperous and powerful. The growing inequality between the two halves of the empire weakened the Western Roman Empire's ability to respond effectively to external threats and internal challenges. Economic instability was another major factor in the decline of the Western Roman Empire. The empire faced numerous economic problems, including inflation, high taxes, and dependence on slave labor. Currency devaluation, initiated by emperors seeking to fund military campaigns and public works, led to rampant inflation. When the value of money decreased, prices soared, and the purchasing power of the average citizen decreased. This economic turmoil undermined public confidence in the government and contributed to social unrest. Heavy taxation was another burden on the population, especially the lower and middle classes. The need to fund the military and maintain the infrastructure of the empire led to higher tax rates, which disproportionately affected the working class. As a result, many citizens found it increasingly difficult to make a living, leading to widespread discontent and a decline in civic engagement. Economic strain also contributed to a decline in trade and agricultural productivity, further exacerbating the empire's financial problems. Dependence on slave labor led to a stagnant economy because it discouraged technological innovation and the development of a skilled labor force. Because slaves made up a large portion of the labor force, landowners had little incentive to invest in new agricultural technologies or techniques. Lack of innovation hindered economic growth and made the empire vulnerable to external pressures, especially when barbarians began to invade Roman territories. Invasions by barbarian tribes were perhaps the most immediate and visible threat to the Western Roman Empire. As the empire weakened due to internal strife and economic instability, various groups began to exploit its vulnerabilities. The migration of Germanic tribes, including Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, into Roman territory was caused by a number of factors, including pressure from the Huns and the search for better living conditions. The Visigoths famously sacked Rome in 410 AD under Alaric, dealing a significant blow to the prestige and power of the empire. This event shattered the illusion of Roman invincibility and demonstrated the empire's inability to defend its own capital. The sacking of Rome was not an isolated incident. It was part of a broader spectrum of invasions and territorial losses that plagued the Western Roman Empire in the following decades. The Vandals, another Germanic tribe, were another example of the problems the empire faced. In 455 AD, they invaded and sacked Rome, further weakening its authority and resources. The inability of the Roman military to respond effectively to these invasions emphasized the decline of Roman military power and the fragmentation of the empire's defenses. By the end of the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was unable to organize a coherent defense against the various barbarian groups that had settled within its borders. Internal divisions and lack of resources made it increasingly difficult to coordinate a unified response to external threats. As a result, the empire continued to lose territory and influence, leading to the final collapse of Roman power in the West. The overthrow of Romulus Augustulus in 476 AD is often seen as the symbolic end of the Western Roman Empire. Romulus, a young and relatively powerless emperor, was overthrown by the Germanic leader Odoacer, who declared himself King of Italy. This event was the culmination of a long process of decline and fragmentation, as by this time the Western Roman Empire had already lost much of its territory and influence. The reign of Romulus Augustulus was characterized by a lack of real power, as the empire was increasingly dominated by war chiefs and foreign tribes. His deposition signaled the end of Roman imperial rule in the West and the transition to a new political order. Odoacer's decision to send the imperial regalia to the Eastern Emperor Zeno symbolized the recognition that the Western Roman Empire had effectively ceased to exist as a political entity. The fall of Romulus Augustulus did not mark the end of Roman culture or influence. Rather, it signaled the transformation of governance and society. Remnants of Roman authority persisted in various forms as local leaders and chieftains adopted elements of Roman law, administration, and culture. The transition from Roman rule to barbarian kingdoms was not a sudden rupture, but rather a gradual process of adaptation and integration. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to flourish. Centered in Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire retained many aspects of Roman government, culture, and law. The transition from Western to Eastern Empire marked a significant shift in the balance of power, as the Byzantine Empire became the primary successor to Roman power. The Byzantine Empire maintained a centralized government with a strong emphasis on imperial power. Emperors such as Justinian I sought to restore the glory of the Roman Empire through sweeping reforms that included the codification of Roman law in the Corpus Juris Civilis. This legal framework had a lasting impact on the development of legal systems in Europe and beyond. Culturally, the Byzantine Empire served as a bridge between the ancient and medieval worlds. It preserved classical knowledge, art, and literature, ensuring that the achievements of ancient Rome would not be lost to history. Byzantine scholars played a crucial role in the transmission of Greek and Roman texts, contributing to the Renaissance and the revival of classical education in Western Europe. The Byzantine Empire also faced its own challenges, including external threats from invaders and internal strife. However, it managed to survive for nearly 1,000 years after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, demonstrating the resilience of Roman institutions and culture. The legacy of the Byzantine Empire is evident in its contributions to art, architecture, and government, which continue to influence modern societies. The decline of the Western Roman Empire was a multifaceted process caused by internal strife, economic instability, and barbarian invasions. Political chaos and fragmentation weakened the empire's ability to respond to external threats, and economic problems undermined popular confidence and civic engagement. The symbolic end of the empire with the deposition of Romulus Augustulus in 476 AD was an important turning point in history, paving the way for the transition to the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire emerged as a successor to Roman rule, preserving and adapting many aspects of Roman governance and culture. Her legacy continues to resound today, influencing legal systems, art, and architecture. The decline of the Western Roman Empire serves as a reminder of the complexity of history and the interplay of the various factors that determine the rise and fall of civilizations. Understanding this decline provides valuable insights into the evolution of Europe and the enduring influence of Roman culture on the world. The Renaissance and Baroque eras in Rome marked a profound cultural renaissance that transformed the city into a vibrant center of art, architecture, and intellectual thought. This revival was greatly influenced by the patronage of popes and powerful families who sought to demonstrate their wealth, power, and piety through grandiose artistic and architectural projects. During this time, famous figures such as Michelangelo and Gian Lorenzo Bernini emerged, leaving an indelible mark on Rome's cultural landscape. The influence of these movements not only changed the appearance of the city, but also contributed to a renewed sense of cultural identity that resonated throughout Europe. The role of the papacy in Rome's cultural renaissance cannot be overemphasized. Popes became some of the most significant patrons of the arts, commissioning works that not only beautified the city, but also conveyed their religious authority and political power. The Vatican, as the spiritual and administrative center of the Catholic Church, became the hub of artistic endeavors. Popes such as Julius II, Leo X, and Clement VII promoted the arts by commissioning famous artists to create masterpieces that would add to the glory of the Church. Pope Julius II, often called the Warrior Pope, was particularly influential during the Renaissance. He commissioned Michelangelo to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, a monumental task that became one of the most famous works of art in history. Completed between 1508 and 1512, the ceiling is adorned with a number of stunning frescoes, including the iconic Creation of Adam. This work not only demonstrated Michelangelo's extraordinary talent, but also reflected the theological themes of the time, emphasizing the relationship between God and humanity. In addition to the papacy, influential families such as the Medici and Farnese played a crucial role in Rome's cultural revival. The Medici, originally from Florence, extended their influence over Rome through strategic marriages and political alliances. They were significant patrons of artists and architects, commissioning works that reinforced their status and heritage. The Farnese family, another prominent dynasty, also contributed to Rome's cultural landscape, commissioning works by artists such as Michelangelo and Caravaggio. The patronage of these families and the papacy created a competitive environment that spurred artistic innovation. Artists were motivated to push the boundaries of their craft, leading to a flowering of creativity that defined the Renaissance and Baroque eras. The desire to leave behind a lasting legacy encouraged both patrons and artists to collaborate on grandiose projects that would stand the test of time. Michelangelo Buonarroti is perhaps the most iconic figure of the Renaissance, known for his outstanding contributions to sculpture, painting, and architecture. His work exemplifies the ideals of the Renaissance, emphasizing humanism, beauty, and the divine. In addition to the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo's sculpture, David is a testament to his mastery of form and anatomy. Created between 1501 and 1504, the statue captures the biblical hero in a moment of contemplation before his battle with Goliath. The attention to detail and expression of emotion in David reflect the Renaissance emphasis on individualism and human experience. Michelangelo's influence extended beyond sculpture and painting. He also played a significant role in architecture. His design for the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, commissioned by Pope Julius II, became a defining element of the Roman skyline. The dome, completed after Michelangelo's death by Giacomo della Porta, is a masterpiece of engineering and design, symbolizing the grandeur of the Catholic Church and Rome itself. Gian Lorenzo Bernini became a leading figure of the Baroque era, known for his dynamic sculptures and architectural designs that brought movement and emotion to his work. Bernini's ability to capture the human experience in marble set him apart from his contemporaries. One of his most famous works, The Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, located in the Cornaro Chapel in Santa Maria della Vittoria, exemplifies the theatricality and emotional depth characteristic of Baroque art. The sculpture depicts Saint Teresa in a moment of divine ecstasy, surrounded by a dramatic arrangement of light and shadow that enhances the spiritual experience. Bernini's contribution to architecture is no less significant. He designed the Grand Colonnade in St. Peter's Square, which serves as a welcoming embrace for visitors to the Vatican. The colonnade, with its 284 Doric columns, creates a sense of unity and harmony, reflecting Baroque ideals. Bernini's ability to combine sculpture and architecture into a coherent whole transformed Rome's public spaces, making them more accessible and attractive. The cultural renaissance during the Renaissance and Baroque eras had a profound impact on Rome's cultural identity. The city became a center of artistic innovation, attracting artists, architects, and intellectuals from all over Europe. This influx of talent fostered a vibrant cultural atmosphere that celebrated creativity and human achievement. The emphasis on classical ideals during the Renaissance led to a renewed interest in ancient Roman culture and philosophy. Artists and scholars sought inspiration from the works of antiquity, incorporating classical themes and motifs into their creations. This revival of classical learning and aesthetics not only enriched the artistic landscape, but also fostered a sense of continuity with Rome's glorious past. The Baroque era, characterized by emotional intensity and drama, further shaped Rome's cultural identity. The grandeur of Baroque art and architecture reflected the strength and power of the Catholic Church in times of religious upheaval and conflict. The Counter-Reformation, which was a response to the Protestant Reformation, encouraged the Church to use art as a means of communicating its ideas and reasserting its influence. The dramatic and emotional qualities of Baroque art were used to inspire devotion and reverence in the faithful. During this period, Rome's public spaces were transformed, with grand piazzas, fountains, and churches built to showcase the artistic achievements of the time. The Trevi Fountain, designed by Bernini and completed by Nicola Salvi, became an iconic symbol of Baroque architecture and a testament to the city's artistic heritage. The fountain's intricate design and intricate sculptures attract visitors from all over the world, embodying the spirit of Rome's cultural renaissance. The cultural renaissance also had a lasting impact on education and science in Rome. The establishment of institutions such as the Accademia di San Luca, founded in 1577, provided a platform for artists and architects to collaborate and exchange ideas. This emphasis on education and artistic training fostered a distinctive Roman style that combined the classics with innovative techniques. The legacy of the Renaissance and Baroque in Rome continues to resound today. The artistic and architectural achievements of this time laid the foundation for subsequent movements and influenced generations of artists and architects. The principles of perspective, proportions, and humanism established during the Renaissance became the cornerstones of Western art, determining the trajectory of artistic creativity for many centuries. The Baroque era's emphasis on emotion, movement, and theatricality left an indelible mark on art, inspiring subsequent movements such as Rococo and Romanticism. The dramatic use of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, became a hallmark of Baroque painting and influenced artists such as Caravaggio, whose work exemplified the emotional depth and realism characteristic of the period. In addition, the cultural renaissance in Rome has helped make the city a center of art and education. The Vatican museums, with their extensive collection of Renaissance and Baroque masterpieces, continue to attract millions of visitors each year. The preservation and celebration of Rome's artistic heritage serves as a testament to the enduring impact of cultural revitalization on the city's identity. In conclusion, the Renaissance and Baroque cultural revival in Rome was a transformative era that changed the artistic and architectural landscape of the city. The influence of Roman popes and influential families, as well as the contributions of key figures such as Michelangelo and Bernini, played a crucial role in this revival. The impact of these movements on Rome's cultural identity was manifested in the indelible legacy of their artistic achievements, which continue to inspire and delight audiences around the world. The Renaissance and Baroque eras not only defined the character of Rome, but also left an indelible mark on the history of art and culture, defining the trajectory of Western civilization for generations to come. Rome's evolution into a modern city is a complex narrative shaped by historical events, cultural transformations, and socio-political changes. From its ancient roots as the heart of a vast empire to its current status as a vibrant metropolis, Rome has undergone significant changes, especially after the World Wars and the advent of fascism. These events have affected not only the physical landscape of the city, but also its cultural identity and political significance. Today, Rome stands as a testament to resilience and adaptation, but it continues to face challenges that threaten its historical heritage and contemporary dynamics. The early 20th century was a tumultuous period for Rome, marked by the upheavals of World War I and the subsequent rise to power of fascism under Benito Mussolini. Italy's involvement in World War I, 1914 to 1918, had a profound impact on the country, leading to economic hardship, social unrest, and disillusionment of the population. The war exacerbated existing tensions and dissatisfaction with the government, creating fertile ground for radical ideologies to take root. After the war, Mussolini and his National Fascist Party capitalized on society's desire for stability and national pride. Mussolini's rise to power in 1922 marked the beginning of a totalitarian regime that sought to remake Italian society and culture. Rome became the epicenter of fascist ideology, and Mussolini promoted a vision of a renewed Roman Empire. The regime conducted extensive propaganda campaigns that glorified ancient Rome and sought to link the fascist state to the grandeur of its imperial past. Under fascism, Rome underwent significant urban transformation. Mussolini initiated ambitious public works projects to modernize the city and demonstrate the power of the regime. The construction of new roads, buildings, and monuments was meant to reflect the strength and unity of the Italian people. Notable projects include Via dei Fori Imperiali, a grand boulevard connecting the Colosseum to Piazza Venezia, and the renovation of the Esposizione Universale Roma (EUR) district, which was intended to host the 1942 World's Fair but was eventually cancelled due to the war. Fascism's impact on Rome, however, was not only physical, it also had profound social and cultural consequences. The regime suppressed dissent, restricted civil liberties, and promoted a narrow vision of Italian identity that marginalized minority groups, particularly Jews. Racial laws passed in 1938 targeted Jewish citizens, resulting in widespread discrimination and persecution. This dark chapter in Rome's history left an indelible scar on the city's cultural fabric and collective memory. The outbreak of World War II, 1939 to 1945, further complicated Rome's development. The city suffered from bombing and military occupation, resulting in destruction and deprivation. The war culminated in the fall of Mussolini in 1943, and then the liberation of Rome by Allied forces in June 1944. After the war, the city lay in ruins, struggling to cope with the effects of fascism and the ravages of conflict. In the years following World War II, Rome began a remarkable journey of recovery and transformation. The post-war period was characterized by a desire to rebuild and redefine the city, both physically and culturally. The Italian government, with the support of the Marshall Plan, initiated reconstruction efforts to rebuild infrastructure and stimulate economic growth. The 1950s and 1960s were a period of rapid urbanization and modernization for Rome. The city experienced a population boom as people migrated from rural areas to urban centers in search of better opportunities. The influx of population led to the expansion of neighborhoods and the construction of new housing developments. Rome's architectural landscape began to change. Modernist projects began to appear alongside the city's ancient monuments. During this time, Rome also became a cultural center, attracting artists, filmmakers, and intellectuals. The Italian film industry flourished, and directors such as Federico Fellini and Roberto Rossellini captured the essence of post-war Rome in their cinematic works. The Italian neorealism movement emerged, depicting the struggles and realities of everyday life in a city recovering from the ravages of war. Films such as Rome, Open City, 1945, and Dolce Vita, 1960, demonstrated the complexities of Roman society and helped shape the city's cultural identity. The Vatican, located within Rome, also played a significant role in the city's post-war reconstruction. Pope John XXIII, who became Pope in 1958, initiated the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 1965, which aimed to modernize the Catholic Church and engage with modern society. This period of reform brought new attention to Rome as a center of religious and cultural significance, attracting pilgrims and tourists from around the world. As Rome has evolved, it has become a vibrant metropolis that blends ancient history and modern life. The city's rich cultural heritage, exemplified by historical sites, museums, and art galleries, has coexisted with modern developments. The combination of ancient ruins and modern architecture has created a unique urban landscape that reflects the city's multi-layered history. Today, Rome is a city of great cultural and political importance, both in Italy itself and on the world stage. As Italy's capital, Rome is the political heart of the country, home to key government institutions including the Parliament and Presidential Palace. The political landscape of the city has changed since the fall of fascism, and democratic governance and active citizenship shape modern Italian society. Culturally, Rome remains a center of artistic expression and intellectual discourse. The city is home to many museums, galleries, and theaters that celebrate its rich artistic heritage. Institutions such as the Borghese Gallery, the National Roman Museum, and the Maxi Museum of 21st Century Art showcase a variety of artistic styles and movements, attracting visitors and scholars alike. Rome's status as a UNESCO World Heritage Site further emphasizes its cultural significance. The historic city center, with its iconic landmarks such as the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, and the Pantheon, attracts millions of tourists every year. The preservation of these sites is crucial not only for tourism, but also for maintaining the city's identity as a living testament to its ancient past. However, Rome faces ongoing challenges that threaten its cultural and urban landscape. Tourism, while economically beneficial, raises concerns for the preservation of historic sites and the quality of life of citizens. The influx of tourists can lead to overcrowding, strain on public services, and an increase in the cost of living, prompting debates about sustainable tourism and urban planning practices. Rome also faces socio-economic inequalities and challenges related to urban development. The city has faced challenges related to housing, transportation, and infrastructure, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. The need for affordable housing and improved public services remains a pressing issue for many residents. Political challenges also persist, with issues such as corruption, bureaucracy, and governance affecting the city's ability to address pressing social and economic issues. Italy's political landscape has undergone significant changes in recent years, with shifting coalitions and intensified populist movements. Rome's role as a political capital means that it is often at the center of national debates and political discussions. Despite these challenges, Rome continues to demonstrate its resilience and adaptability. The city's ability to combine its rich history with modernity is a testament to its resilience. Initiatives aimed at the sustainable development of the city, preserving cultural heritage, and improving the quality of life of citizens reflect the desire for Rome to remain a dynamic and livable city. Rome's evolution into a modern city is a story marked by resilience, transformation, and cultural revitalization. The impact of the world wars and the advent of fascism shaped the trajectory of the city's development, leading to significant changes in its physical and cultural landscape. During the post-war Reconstruction period, Rome became a vibrant metropolis characterized by artistic innovation and urban development. Today, Rome is a city of great cultural and political importance, with a rich heritage that continues to attract tourists and scholars from around the world. However, the city faces ongoing challenges related to tourism, socioeconomic inequality, and political governance. As Rome overcomes these challenges, its ability to adapt and thrive will determine its future as a living testament to its rich past and a beacon of cultural identity in the modern world. Rome's journey from its ancient roots to its modern state reflects the enduring legacy of a city that has shaped history and continues to inspire generations. This video takes us on a journey through the rich and multifaceted history of Rome, a city that played a key role in shaping Western civilization. Rome's legacy, from its legendary founding to its rise as a mighty empire to its eventual transformation into a modern metropolis, is woven into the very fabric of our cultural, political, and social landscape.